What would make for a successful year?
Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Want an honest opinion?
I want honest.
My Cowboys won't make it, for sure.
We can forecast what each team's ceiling is. How about we dive into every NFL team's best possible outcome for the 2024 season? Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray returns to peak form. The Cardinals are still several pieces away from realistically contending for a playoff berth in the NFC. So the upcoming 2024 season will only be a success if quarterback Kyler Murray stays healthy and returns to his Pro Bowl form that we haven't seen since 2021. Murray has to stay healthy, produce, and remind the Cardinals brass that he is their long-term answer at QB. Atlanta Falcons win a playoff game. Having won the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, the Falcons now have all the pieces in place to end their 7-year playoff drought. The Falcons are far and away the best in the division in the NFC South, so it would be a bit of a stunner if Atlanta somehow didn't claim the division crown. Winning the division shouldn't be enough to please Falcons fans, though. 2024 is only going to be a success if the Falcons win at least one playoff game. Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl. The Ravens reached the AFC Championship game for the first time in the Lamar Jackson era, only to lose a 7-point contest to the dynastic Kansas City Chiefs at home. Baltimore has had more than enough regular season success with Jackson. They showed in 2023 that they can go on a deep playoff run. So of course, the best case scenario is going to be getting to the big dance and finally winning the Super Bowl. Buffalo Bills, AFC Championship game appearance. The Bills have been eliminated in the divisional round in each of the last 3 years. With Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Tre'Davious White all departing this offseason, it's hard to argue that 2024 is the year that Buffalo finally breaks through. Reaching the Super Bowl in the crowded AFC feels like a pipe dream for 2024. So Bills fans should keep their expectations reasonable and just be happy if Josh Allen puts on the Superman cape and takes them to the AFC title game. Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young breaks out. Carolina won't be a playoff contender in 2024, but Panthers fans will feel a lot better if Bryce Young breaks out and shows the franchise that the massive investment in him will actually pay off. He's got a new coaching staff and a revamped supporting cast to bounce back. So let's see if Young is up for the challenge. Chicago Bears win a playoff game. With Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Swift coming aboard, all the pieces are in place for the Bears to churn out a top-5 offense and emerge as a playoff contender. If Williams comes as advertised in year one, the Bears should be a wildcard team. If they draw a favorable matchup, well, it's not out of the question to think that Williams will lead Chicago to its first playoff victory since the 2010 season. Cincinnati Bengals, Super Bowl. In Joe Burrow's healthy seasons, the Bengals have gone to 1 Super Bowl and 2 AFC Championship games. As long as he's healthy, Cincinnati is a player for the Lombardi Trophy. We know Cincy can beat KC on any given day, so of course Burrow's squad fits under that Super Bowl or bust category. Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson leads Browns to AFC Championship. Brown's insane investment in Watson has netted 12 game appearances and 14 touchdown passes. It made Watson look even worse in that the Browns' offense functioned better last year when 38-year-old Joe Flacco stepped in and guided Cleveland to the postseason following Watson's season-ending shoulder injury. So, in an ideal world for the Browns, Watson does 3 things. 1. Stays healthy. 2. Regains his Pro Bowl form. And 3. Leads his star-studded Browns to the AFC title game. Dallas Cowboys lose in the NFC Championship game. The Cowboys haven't played in the NFC title game since 1995, the last year that the franchise won the Super Bowl. If Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy want to show Jerry Jones that they can get Dallas over the hump, the Cowboys need to at least reach the Final Four. Denver Broncos, first overall pick. The Broncos cut ties with Jerry Jeudy and Russell Wilson to begin a scorched earth rebuild in Mile High City. Denver hopes that Bo Nix will emerge as the new franchise signal caller in Mile High City. Well, in an ideal world, the rebuild gets a boost with the Broncos winning the first overall pick, which would allow them to take a game changer on defense like Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce Jr. or heck, Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. Detroit Lions, Super Bowl. The Lions went to the NFC title game last season and would have upset the 49ers if not for a couple of costly second-half miscues. This team is clearly good enough to win it all. Detroit is another club in the tier of Super Bowl or bust for 2024. Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl. The Packers were supposed to be bad last year, but Jordan Love came along quicker than expected and led Green Bay to a wildcard berth, culminating in a blowout win over Dallas in the opening round. The Pack just barely lost to a much deeper 49ers team in the divisional round. So, Love, his young set of weapons, and the defense can only improve after a transition year. It's not at all out of the question for Love to take Green Bay to the Super Bowl after a surprisingly successful 2023 season. Houston Texans play an AFC Championship game. Expectations are much higher for a Houston team that won the AFC South and a wild-card game last year. We understand if some Houston fans are treating 2024 as a Super Bowl or bust, but let's not put too much pressure on a young team that hasn't been battle-tested enough. The Texans have never played in the AFC Championship game. CJ Stroud and company aren't far off from winning a Super Bowl, but their lack of experience coupled with the gauntlet that is the AFC means that Houston's ceiling is a Final Four appearance. That should be good enough for a Houston fan base that has never seen its Texans advance past the divisional round. Indianapolis Colts, wildcard berth. A healthy Anthony Richardson will bolster a Colts offense that was better than expected with backup Gardner Minshew last year. Indy is on the right track, but they're also a ways away from contending with the big dogs in the AFC. If the Colts star players stay healthy, they could salvage 9 to 10 wins and sneak in as a wildcard team. Seeing how loaded the AFC is, however, a simple one-and-done postseason appearance is unquestionably the Colts' ceiling this year. Jacksonville Jaguars win AFC South and one playoff game. The Jaguars collapsed once star wideout Christian Kirk suffered a season-ending injury. As a result, they basically gift-wrapped the AFC South to the Houston Texans. Jacksonville is too talented to disappoint that badly again. With Trevor Lawrence leading a prolific offense, the Jaguars are certainly capable of reclaiming the AFC South division crown. But given the holes on the offensive line and in the secondary, it is too early to call them a bona fide Super Bowl contender. If all breaks right, the Jags will win the division and a wildcard game before bowing out in the divisional round. Kansas City Chiefs complete the three-peat. The Chiefs have played in 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, winning 3 Lombardi trophies in the process. We're at a point now where it's championship or bust every year for Patrick Mahomes and company. They just became the first team to repeat in 19 years. Now it's time to complete the first ever Super Bowl three-peat. Anything less than that will be deemed a disappointment for the NFL's new dynasty. Las Vegas Raiders, wild card berth. The Raiders won 8 games last year despite lousy QB play and inept coaching from Josh McDaniels before he was replaced by Antonio Pierce. Of course, the Raiders are capable of topping last year's win total with Brock Bowers and Christian Wilkins joining a team that isn't lacking on playmakers. The Raiders' D and offensive weapons could propel them to a wildcard berth, but no chance that they win a postseason game with an Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew QB tandem. Los Angeles Chargers, a one-and-done postseason appearance. Justin Herbert is arguably a top 5 QB in the league, and the hiring of Jim Harbaugh as head coach should pay major dividends over the long run. But the Bolts gutted their wide receiver depth and barely shook up a constantly underachieving defense. As much as we love a Herbert-Harbaugh tandem, the lack of roster depth means LA's ceiling is 10 wins and a wild-card berth. Los Angeles Rams win 1 playoff game. The Rams surprised everyone by winning 10 games and returning to the postseason a year ago. They should be a playoff team again, but we're not seeing how they'll reach the NFC title game over the 49ers, Lions, or Philadelphia Eagles. Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp aren't getting any younger. Simply making the Elite 8 should be enough to please Rams fans this year. Miami Dolphins, AFC East Division title, and a playoff victory. The Dolphins have recorded 4 straight winning seasons since Tua Tagovailoa's arrival, yet they don't have a single playoff victory to show for it. Miami had the AFC East in their hands before losing the final 2 games, allowing the Bills to swoop in and take it for themselves. Enough one-and-done appearances. With all that offensive firepower, Tua Tagovailoa's company ought to at least win the AFC East in a single playoff game. Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy makes his mark. This is a year of transition in many. The postseason is a pipe dream, but 2024 will be a nice year for Vikings fans if J.J. McCarthy can leave a great first impression and show that he is indeed their long-term guy at QB. New England Patriots, Drake May shines. All Pats Nation can really ask for is that Drake May, the number 3 pick, makes a smooth transition to the NFL and displays flashes of brilliance in year 1. Not saying that he has to have a CJ Stroud-like rookie season, but if May can show Patriots fans in some fashion that he won't be Mac Jones 2.0, then I think they should be happy. New Orleans Saints win the NFC South. The Bucs won the NFC South in 2022 and 2023 with 8 and 9 wins respectively. New Orleans went 9 and 8 last season but only lost on the division via tiebreaker. New Orleans' best case scenario is to win the wide open division now. But given the makeup of their roster, well, it's hard to envision them even winning a wild card game. So, Saints fans, just be happy if you win the NFC South for the first time in 4 years. New York Giants tanking for a top 5 pick. 2023 was another reminder that Daniel Jones will never be the guy for the Giants. This team isn't quite bad enough to contend for the number 1 selection, but a top 5 pick will suffice for Big Blue. A top 5 pick would mean that the GMN get a 2025 QB draft prospect like Texas's Quinn Ewers, Georgia's Carson Beck, or Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. Any of them will do. New York Jets, Super Bowl. We maintain that the Jets would have made the playoffs last year with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. I mean, with an elite defense and a deep set of offensive weapons, the Jets hung around in the playoff race last year. With a future Hall of Famer coming back at QB, the Jets are Super Bowl contenders. And oh boy, they have the talent level and depth to go all the way for the first time in almost 6 decades. Philadelphia Eagles, the Lombardi Trophy. What more can we say? The Eagles almost won the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago and looked like bona fide contenders before inexplicably collapsing in the second half. They are loaded with superstars on offense and defense, with Saquon Barkley, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Quinton Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean joining the fold. So yeah, this team's ceiling is absolutely a Super Bowl championship. Pittsburgh Steelers, first playoff win in 8 years. The Steelers went to the playoffs last year with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph as their QBs. Since they upgraded there with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, Pittsburgh should be more than a wildcard team. They have the game changers and depth to win the franchise's first playoff game in 8 years. San Francisco 49ers, lucky number 6. 2 Super Bowl losses and a pair of NFC title game defeats dating back to 2019. How much more heartbreak can one team endure before finally breaking through? The 49ers are easily the team to beat in the NFC. If not for Mahomes' Chiefs, they'd have 2 Super Bowls in the Kyle Shanahan era by now. Having come so close yet nowhere near, 2024 will only be a success for the 49ers if they finally get their hands on Lombardi Trophy number 6. Seattle Seahawks return to the postseason. The Seahawks finished 9 and 8 last year, but missed out on the NFC's final wildcard spot via tiebreaker to Green Bay. There's plenty of talent on both sides of the ball, including DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, Devin Witherspoon, and Byron Murphy. The Hawks don't have enough star power to win a Super Bowl this year, but they're certainly good enough to return to the playoffs as a wildcard team. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, NFC South four-peat. The Bucs are bringing back the same core players as last year. The only concern is that the NFC South rival Falcons got much better with the Kirk Cousins signing. Tampa most certainly overachieved last season, and Baker Mayfield will find it tough to repeat his career year. We don't see the Bucs reaching the divisional round like last year, but this been there, done that core can at least salvage a 4th straight division title. Tennessee Titans, number 1 pick. The Titans are on the small list of teams with practically no shot at the playoffs next year. Even if Will Levis asserts himself as the guy at QB, the Titans could just use the top pick that would give them a franchise-altering pass rusher. Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels flashes, and a top 5 pick. The Commanders don't want to be downright awful and in the running for the first overall pick next year, that's for sure. In an ideal world, number 2 overall pick Jaden Daniels shows signs of future stardom and asserts himself as a franchise QB. But also ideally, the Commanders get a top 5 pick, which would ensure them an elite pass rusher or top offensive lineman prospect like LSU's Will Campbell. But hey, what do you think is the best possible outcome for your favorite team this upcoming season? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day.